from the studios of Indie Radio. This is your gateway to the gutters of fear. Talking It. Welcome to Derry. Hosted by Kinte and Jen, we're diving into HBO's new event series, It. Welcome to Derry, the chilling prequel that uncovers how terror first took hold in Maine's most cursed town. Each episode, your hosts dissect the story, spotlight the characters, and connect the clues linking the show to its source. Stephen King's landmark novel, It, and the modern film adaptations that brought Pennywise to a new generation. Expect Lord deep dives, Easter eggs, wild theories, and the fiends that float beneath the surface. Keep the lights low, watch the storm drains, and listen closely. And now, here is your program, Talking It. Welcome to Derry, with your hosts Kinte and Jen, on Indie Radio.
All right, what an intro that was. I hope you all have a cup of something nice and warm as we dissect this wonderful fall episode of Talking It. Welcome to Derry. I am joined today by Kinte. Kinte, welcome. And I know I say this often, but it's been a hot minute. How are you? How are things going?
I'm doing fine, and I'm very happy to be here, and it should be a great episode.
Give me, if you would, let's jump into a couple of things right off the top, because I feel like we definitely need to set some staging ground. So first thing is, did you read it, and have you seen the movies, the miniseries, etc.?
First of all, we're going to get tongue-tied a lot because a lot of times we're going to say, did you read it? Did you see it?
Did you read the novel It by Stephen King?
Yeah, I did. I read it when I was a very young person. We've talked about this one before. I don't know if we talked about it on air, that when I was a kid, the first novelist that I read was Stephen King, and I went through a bunch of his books, one after another. I was kind of obsessed with his work. So I did read it, and I did see all of the movie adaptations, the Tim Curry one, as well as the Skarsgård 2 movies as well.
Okay, so you definitely know a bunch about the universe that belongs to the Stephen King novel It, and the other books that are also in this orbit. Hold on a second. Let me grab this here. Because, and the reason that I'm just bringing something up, the reason that I think that this might be important is because there's a lot of theories around what happened in the initial pilot, and then what's going to happen on Halloween night when we see the next episode. And some of this has to do with the lore that Stephen King created for the universe where It, the creature It, Pennywise and his universe piece, exist. And it crosses over into a couple of different things. So that's why I wanted to make sure that you had read the books and our book and at least seen some of the material around it. And if I could put it out there to the rest of the podcast universe, there may be some things in here that if you haven't either explored it as a novel and or seen the 2 movies that are the direct prequel to this, they may not make a lot of sense. So it is 100% worth your time to at least go back and watch the movies and or read the novel. It's a super long novel, but it's well worth reading. So with that, give me your first impressions of the pilot episode. You don't need to do anything specific, but what overall did you feel?
Well, I remember what was it, yesterday, the day before when I saw it?
Mhm.
I saw the first like 10 minutes of it, and 10-15 minutes, and I was texting you as it was happening, like WTF, because it was pretty out there the way that it starts off. Very effective. It definitely pulls you in, and yeah, it was something else. So I thought that was good. I thought they did a good job of establishing the characters and what's going on, and I really thought that the episode was pretty solid. So it's hard to know what to expect, being that a lot of times when you see these movie TV shows where they adapt it for television, especially this isn't necessarily part of Stephen King's novel, that they're kind of just making up their, you know, making it up. You don't know how it's going to go, but I thought they did a pretty good job.
Yeah, I agree. From a production standpoint, it looks really good. I'm definitely very impressed with that. From a story perspective, which we will get into, there are quite a few very interesting things that happened in this first episode that might be really interesting to chase. I guess that's a good word. Um, so one of the interesting things that happens, and let's just recap a little bit about where we are. So we're in the 1960s, and this is a direct tie to the first movie when we see the Losers Club getting together. This would be the 27-year jump prior to that. So Pennywise has been dormant for 27 years after the episodes that we're going to see for Welcome to Derry in this season. What we don't know at this point is how Pennywise behaves differently or similarly. We saw a little bit of it. And what might is he learning? Is he doing things different? Those kinds of things. I feel weird calling it a he, but I mean, he manifests as a he, so I guess it's okay. It is just so perfect because, yeah, we know that Pennywise is an it, not it's an alien. It's not us. So yeah, kind of works. Um, so the next question that I guess I have is, we get the sort of backstory between the missing kids, Teddy, Phil, and Lily, right? They're out looking for their missing friends. Well, I shouldn't say that they're missing. That's a theory, but I'll get into that in a second. Let's get into Teddy, Phil, and Lily. They're looking for missing people, right? How do you,
Hmm.
or what do you think is, how was that established for you? Did that feel like it was a good, like the pilot sort of opens with something super similar? How do you feel about all of that?
No, I mean, I thought it was very super effective. I thought that I really enjoyed how they established everything in this episode. They did a great job of telling you, in that opening was very effective, and I thought that it was done very well.
Okay.
Can I ask you a question though?
Yeah.
Um, I can't remember this character's name on the screen.
The, why? I don't know why I'm getting that. I'm not seeing it, Kinte.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Oh,
there
you
we go.
can.
I got him. Uh,
Yeah,
that's Teddy, Phil.
Teddy. Okay, Teddy.
Teddy. Teddy.
Teddy. What was the deal with the binky?
Oh, okay. So this is one of the things that I thought was super interesting was the idea of sort of like talismans, and this is something that Stephen King gets into a lot. This kid has been so abused that basically his comfort, his only security blanket is that in the same way that all of the losers had their own sort of quote unquote talismans, like, you know, there was the inhaler, there was the spike, there was the key, there was the all of that stuff. Everybody had their own. And that, I think, is exactly what that's supposed to represent. But I mean, on top of that, it is really supposed to represent that he was so abused by his parents, guardian, whoever, that the trauma was big enough for him to regress in that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But I think that this is going to come into play later. I absolutely do. Because I don't think I mean, from what we understand, there is definitely a bit of a disconnect between what we see in that sort of opening where he's escaping the theater and he gets into the car and they're leaving Derry, but they're not leaving Derry, and all the crazy things happen in the car. And then clearly he's dead, but is he actually dead? Or, you know, I think this is going to be a recurring theme.
For a minute, I was like, it's kind of like From.
Yeah.
If anyone's ever seen
They
that show.
just keep leaving the town, but they never actually leave it.
Right.
And this mirrors very much what Pennywise has done in the past, where he brings up the things that you fear the most, and somehow I have a feeling that the baby might end up being a part of that, being ignored, not being heard, the things that create those really deep, dark experiences that you have that you don't even realize that you're fearing. That's what he's exploiting. And this is exactly why I bring up the question about whether you think that we are going to see a little bit more of that as we go forward. Like, again, is Pennywise learning? Like, are we going to watch Pennywise actually, by the time we get to the actual movies, Pennywise at his best? And if that's the case, then boy, we've got a lot of ground to cover, because people are not always as, not smart, but aware of what's happening. And so I just wonder how that's, what are your thoughts on that?
You know, I really don't know. I think you know probably a little bit more than me about what they plan on doing in this show. I kind of purposely kind of stayed away from that just because I wanted to be surprised, you know. So I mean, so you're saying that you don't think Pennywise is full formed at this point as far as uh being the agent of chaos?
Oh no, I think he is as much an agent of chaos as he can possibly be at this point. But I am wondering how within each time frame, and of course we won't know this for quite some time, but I'm wondering how they're going to handle with each time frame how Pennywise exploits people, both in terms of fear, but also just in terms of their actual awareness, because we know canon to definitely the movies. And I think there is mention in the book a bit about how Derry itself is poisoned, is like it's not a good place. And the adults around the kids, the Losers Club, especially in Derry, seem to not just turn a blind eye, but literally can't see some of the things that are happening. And so my question kind of goes
Was that
back.
pre though Pennywise's arrival?
Well, that's what I'm wondering. I'm wondering how they're going to handle some of that. Like, is this Pennywise who poisoned the land, so to speak? I mean, I hate to like get into the other sort of Stephen King idea of Pet Cemetery, but it has that same feel to it. Like, this is bad. The place is bad. And all the things that are happening to the kids right now are a result of the town being bad. It's both the parents being completely checked out of the children's lives, not noticing when they wander away, not noticing when things go awry, and then not being able to see some of the things that the kids can see, but also just really bordering on terrible people. And that seems to be the recurring theme here, because even in the movie, in the second movie, we get a huge reality dose of that. But then in the first episode, you can really see that this is definitely a theme going backwards. So without spending too much time on it, I just wanted to know what you're sort of like, how did you feel about what they were presenting and whether you thought it was authentic? Remember, this is all brand new ground because there is no prequel to the novel It, and this is all made up. We have really no real understanding of what Pennywise was other than what is included in the novel. So this is fertile ground, so to speak, for something new in terms of the interpretation.
Can I ask you a question? Did
Yeah.
Stephen King have anything to do with this, but beyond him creating the original?
I don't think so. I don't remember reading anything about Stephen King having anything to do with this. I didn't see his name in the credits. Did you?
No.
So I didn't even see him as a creative consultant. I think it's just based off of the work of Stephen King.
Oh, okay.
And in some ways, I'm sorry to say this, Stephen King, because, I love you. I absolutely, as a novelist, I'll read the cookbook if you write it. But every time Stephen King gets involved in some kind of media presentation, it doesn't always go really well. So I'm actually kind of glad that we've got a whole new batch of writers, that we've got some brand new take on this. That kind of feels good. I feel like there's potential here. I also just wanted to briefly mention that It, as a series, Welcome to Derry, has a number of seasons planned. They all span that 27-year jump mark until we get to the late 19th century, I think, the 1800s, when we sort of see some origin for Pennywise. So that should be a bit interesting, just in terms of what we might see going forward. And you're right, in some ways it does kind of feel oddly like From. I didn't even think about that.
The only thing is I don't think the ratings were very good.
You're absolutely wrong. The ratings were, it was the third highest debut.
Really? Because I'm looking at them. They don't look that.
It
I
was
guess
5 million. It was 5 million on the night of.
Really? Okay, because what I'm looking at, it doesn't say that, but okay. Well, that's good.
I can actually hold on a second. I just actually saw
Madeline Stowe is in this. Was she in the first episode?
Who does it say she played? I didn't actually see.
I just see that she's listed as a character, but it doesn't say what her character is.
Let's see. It looks like our initial. Well, those were quite a while. Let's see. Okay, so according to the Hollywood Reporter, the audience was at, they've got it at 5-point-something million. So that's a fairly good 5.7 million.
Okay, well, Wikipedia has it wrong then. My bad.
So that's not bad. That's actually good. Also, Wikipedia oftentimes doesn't do the cross-platform. They don't get the cross-platform for a couple days, so that might be why.
Oh, okay. And quick shout out to James Remar, Harry from Dexter.
Right.
He was fantastic, and it was good seeing him. He aged really well too, by the way.
I have a feeling that this is going to draw quite a few people into it. I don't know. We'll see. Mm-hmm. Okay, so one of the other things that um, that I really wanted to get your take on was after the um after as we're watching what is happening between Maddie and Lily. Okay, so these are the kids that end up on the tower, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we actually see the tower a couple of times in the movies as well. So it's definitely a central point. Um, I just, what do you think about that? One of the things that is so interesting to me about the way that Welcome to Derry works is it's kind of a hand in hand companion with the movies in the sense that there's one of the biggest central tenets is unrequited love. And I kind of like that because it's one of the things that we see with Bev and both Ben. Well, let's I guess the unrequited love is with Ben. And how easy it is for these things to go awry. I mean, these people are kids that, they're not they're not basing their relationship understanding on anything very deep. And I do kind of like that because it sets everything up in a similar way to the way that when Georgie disappears, you have this whole feeling of guilt and, terrible angst that you should have been able to do something. So what did you think about that?
I'm so sorry. You cut out the last bit.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just say the last bit again.
I just said what did you think about the relationships between the characters, but specifically between between Lily and Teddy?
Um, well, one thing about that I will have to say about
I'm
about
sorry. I'm sorry, Maddie, not Teddy.
right, I get what you're saying. One thing I have to say is that all it going back to the movies as well as this is that the kids seem it's like a loss of innocence, right? To a
Mhm.
certain degree. So the kids have kind of adult relationships, but they're kids. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it absolutely does. I think that's what makes it that's what gives us sort of our connection to them. It works.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I've noticed about it is that although they are children, but they kind of live an adult life in a way.
Mhm.
So even in their relationships with each other, so that's the thing that I noticed about it. But I have a uh once we finish this segment, I have something that I wanted to tell you.
Okay. I would add to what you just said that the reason I think that they are behaving in adult manners is because the adults don't have as much to do with the kids as maybe a normal family would. And because they are hurt or damaged in some way, it makes them grow up very quickly. And that I think is what we are seeing. We're seeing all of their trauma even when we don't know exactly what the trauma is. So go ahead. What would you like to bring up?
Oh no. Yeah, which I think is very it's a really good point too, because you know I think needs to be understood that the trauma that's going on in Derry, like, morphs everyone, especially the children, into something like an other or something else. Which is it's always sad when kids can't just enjoy being children. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But we all know that this is a Stephen King trope.
Right, for sure.
His kids
Okay.
don't get treated very well.
Okay. First of all, actually, you may already know this, but this character right here, who really didn't have any lines or anything, but you saw him. Do you know who he is? You know who he is?
No, I don't. Although I would love to discuss this part too. Who is he?
Okay, he is uh uh Dick Halloran, the character from the Shining. That's the
Oh,
same.
no
That's him as
way.
a young man. Yeah, yeah. So
Wow.
yeah, or Richard, Dick, whatever. So I think they call him Dick on this. But yeah, that's who he is. So it'll be really interesting to see
Ooh.
what where that goes. But yeah, I when I was doing some little research, I was like, wait a minute. When I recognized the name, and I was like, yeah, it's the same character.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be shocked if there's other characters from other Stephen King uh properties that may find its way in there. Because they did that show you watched it, but I didn't. The one
Castle Rock.
Castle Rock, right?
Yeah.
Where all these characters were in and out or
Yeah,
whatnot.
it was a convergence of a lot of Stephen King, sort of the characters moving in and out of that particular universe piece. And it was pretty good.
If you don't mind, maybe near the end of the show, maybe you can opine what other characters we could possibly see. Or I mean, what is a possibility that we could see? Maybe not based on any knowledge of it, but who could possibly be in Derry.
Well,
Yeah.
I will start by saying that one quick thing that I do think we may end up getting some crossover with, although I don't know for sure, but
Mhm.
um is the the not the characters themselves, but the ideas that are brought forth in the truly terrible movie, but really actually kind of good book, Dreamcatchers.
Oh, okay. I never even seen that. I didn't read it either.
Oh, okay. So that's another Stephen King, and it
Mhm.
definitely does have a tie because we actually hear them mention Derry in that book, which is kind of interesting. Um, and also in a similar theme, without giving too much away, there are aliens. So
Mm.
that's
Well,
where we go from there.
well, what was that one where they made a movie about it? I never read that either. Where or they made a series about it where James Franco goes back in time, and I think he goes to
Um,
Derry at some
does
point.
he?
Yeah. What was it? 1923. What was it? 19 something.
Oh, 1912.
Yeah. There. I believe at some point he goes to Derry.
Oh,
Like before, because he's trying to stop the Kennedy assassination, right?
right.
And but he goes to Derry first or something like that. So I was wondering if that. I mean, I'm pretty sure James Franco won't be in it, but but I wonder if they'll make a
And
connection to that story as well.
I think actually I'm wrong. I think okay, wait. And I don't know if this actually works all together because I think the movie that we're talking about is actually called 11/22/63.
There you go. That's it. That
Yeah.
sounds
Okay.
more
So
like it.
yeah, that is definitely the one. But I don't know if that actually works because well, I don't know. I suppose it
Okay,
could.
here it is. It
Yeah,
says
it
it
could.
says the main connection between 11/22/63 and it is that the protagonist, Jake Epping,
Jake, that's right.
Jake Epping visits Derry, Maine in it's 1958, so it's right before that.
Yeah.
Encounters two characters from it, Beverly Marsh and Richie Toiser. Jake also feels the evil presence in Derry that readers know from it. Okay, so all right, that's interesting. But okay, so I guess this won't be in there because this is what years is 1962. So
Right.
yeah.
And what I absolutely find fascinating about all of this is that despite the fact that Stephen King's universe is, but in this particular universe, there are a lot of cross connections. It doesn't necessarily mean that any one of these sort of like just because we get casual connection doesn't mean that there is a stronger connection. And
Mhm.
once again, because the series is brand new ground, they can kind of do what they want with it.
Oh,
So
wait. Okay, so um, also I found other connections to it. It says in the Dark Tower series,
Oh, right, in the Dark Tower. But we know that the Dark Tower is actually a slightly different universe. So
right?
it doesn't exist in the same universe as it.
But it says other connections can be found in Bag of Bones, Dreamcatcher, which you said,
Yeah.
and the Running Man as well. The Running Man, really? Like,
Yeah, there's a mention to somebody being from Derry in The Running Man.
ah, interesting.
So
And it,
really,
it says HBO series is a prequel to it movie and explores the history. Okay, and numerous. It says it'll have numerous Easter eggs and nods to other books.
right, which I
Oh,
think is great, actually. I mean, who doesn't want to see the guy from Needful Things show up? That'd be great.
okay. And Needful Things that wasn't in Derry though, right?
No, but he's timeless, so he could exist any place.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't actually think they're going to do that. I think that the focus is going to be on Pennywise, Derry, and the people around it, and maybe like little Easter eggs meeting small passing mentions.
Look,
I
I
yeah,
don't mind. I mean, I know they already did a show like that, but I wouldn't mind doing that. I mean, like it's almost like when you see these Star Wars shows and they're like, we're gonna use Darth Vader sparingly because we don't want to overuse him. I'm like, no, use him.
right,
Like,
right. Yeah, I
I want
agree.
a lot of Darth Vader.
Also, when you talk about and I think that Welcome to Derry is sort of the best example of this. When you are talking about fan service,
Hmm.
this show is fan service. It is like we picked up a bunch of new seasons based on passing mentions in both other books and in the novel itself as let's run with this. It is very similar to what happens with fan fiction, where you end up with whole new horizons of things happening because somebody said, "Look at what happened in the book. This could be a whole different piece of fiction." And I'm so all for that. And the more connections that you could make, the better it is.
Yeah. And another thing I have to say is that the hold on a second. The production value is so good. They clearly spent a lot of money on this
Yeah,
show.
that's what I
It,
mentioned
it
at
looks
the outset.
it
It was
looks
great.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. It says wait, in some it says 85 million to $100 million budget for uh for the first season. Wow.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
that's and it's a show will be an anthology with a 3-season arc set in different time periods. Okay. Yeah. Wow.
So, getting back to
I'm sorry, I took us off
no,
course.
no, it's totally fine. I think this is great sort of foundation information that we should definitely keep exploring throughout. But I did sort of want to talk a little bit about especially Lily, because Lily seems to be okay. So nobody believes Lily about the drain, and they are having a hard time sort of feeling as if there's some kind of truth behind what she's saying until they begin to experience other things themselves.
Hmm.
And I wanted to touch real fast on this one thing that happens where the kids tell Lily that they don't believe her, um and then somebody says, and I think it's I think it's Mr. Uris who says that the Nazis used the skin of Jewish prisoners to make lampshades. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? Okay, and then the light switches on at some point, and it absolutely is a face.
Yeah.
That
Uh
was crazy. That
this
was
guy
so
right,
crazy.
you're referring to.
Yeah. And then she turns I the I'm sorry, not she, but um in Teddy's bedroom, that's where we see the light. And that was so crazy. I thought that was so good. because again, we're moving into the territory of what makes you scared. And just the passing mention of something could be enough to make you vulnerable to Pennywise's machinations. And just like with the losers, I think Pennywise is grooming them in a way, grooming their fear, because that's what he feeds on. He feeds on the fear. So the more they sort of resist, the better it is for him, because he can keep scaring them. Right? You know, the little girl who goes underneath the bleachers, and he easily persuades her to come forward because just like her, he is disfigured, or, you know, he thinks that people shouldn't be judged by the way that they look. And then she's got that big port wine stain on her face. Those things matter because she just said, oh, okay, you're just like me. I'm okay. I slight hesitation, but I'll come closer. The kids are definitely not quite ready for that. They need much more in order to believe things. Right. And and again, this sets it up just like it did with the kids from the Losers Club. So how do you feel about that?
Wait, just as a quick side note, is this skin lampshade month? Because we have two things, the Ed Gein and now this.
Oh yeah, that's right.
It's like, wow, what the heck, man?
That's right.
Sorry, I just had to say, throw that in there. But so going back to what you were asking me, you know, the thing that always made the Pennywise character so effective as far as being frightening is that Pennywise uses your own fears and insecurities as the weapon against you, right?
Right.
So it's like, you know, like it's like he knows, right?
Yeah.
What it is. So you're vulnerable. You're as vulnerable as whatever it is that affects you. You know what I mean? And so it's very interesting. I think they did a good job of establishing the characters as far as what it is that they're afraid of. What do they fear? What it is, you know? So you had the boy, you know, that we just showed, you know, where his father is at the lampshade. You also had his friend. He's going on and on about aliens and stuff, right? Which is kind of funny because there is an alien in this town, you know. And so we're starting to see all of the different characters, what it is that you know, that they're afraid of, or that they, you know, is things that, so I think that, you know, it's really good. Yeah. And then you know, and I feel really bad to say this about the drain is when I was a kid and I saw Jaws, my brother, I was a little kid. My brother told me that Jaws can get me from the drain.
Oh God.
and I believed him. So,
you know, in a very similar way, we have a cabin up on Lake George, and of course, it's Lake George. It's fresh water. There's no sharks in the water, and I was scared to death, thinking that there could actually be sharks in the lake until a grown-up basically said, "Nope, scientifically impossible. There's no such thing as sharks in the lake." And then my cousin started chanting, 3 feet of water, 3 feet of water," as if like the shark could magically appear because 3 feet of water. It was crazy. So fear has a really, you never know what's going to scare you. That's the thing, you know, you just never know.
You never know.
Okay. So I want to talk real quick about the other, I mean, not that there weren't many crazy scenes, but this one made me actually like, wow, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. So they go into the movie house, okay, and they had recognized the song from the scene "You Got Trouble," and it's Music the Music Man. Yeah, it's the Music Man. And so Maddie is on the screen. Eventually they see Maddie and he's holding a baby in his arms. Of course, we know right away that's got to be the baby from the car, right? And he moves closer toward toward them. And then he releases the baby saying, I'm here because you weren't for me or whatever. And of course, the image kind of melts into Pennywise. And all of a sudden, that thing flies out of the screen and it kills the three kids, Susie, Phil, and Teddy, right? Yeah. And I'm wow, that was so incredibly crazy. Like the end scene for that was insane. So I guess my question to you is, what did you think about it?
Man, that was frightening as heck.
It was.
When I saw that, I was like, "Oh wow!" Like that, and it was like I knew something was crazy was gonna happen, right? But I could have never thought it was that, that they went that far. And Skarsgård said that this is gonna be super hardcore.
Yeah,
I don't know if you saw him in the interview. He did this
I did.
interview, and he said he promised that it was gonna be hardcore. So, but no, I thought it was crazy. I thought it was really good. You know, um, we're not going to skip over the black servicemen.
No, I was
Oh,
actually
okay.
saving that kind of for last because I feel
Oh,
like
okay.
we have a bit to talk about with that. I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
get to the last part, so because that was sort of the crazy horror part of all of it.
Right.
And that there is more story stuff to kind of talk about. But the one thing that I wanted to say about that last scene is that the idea that the idea that Lily and Ronnie escape, right, is sort of like one thing. But the second part of all of this, that the thing that he says, the thing that Pennywise says about Maddie, you're the reason that I'm here, that feels very much like the way that Georgie made everybody else feel in the novel. That either through neglect or through apathy, right? I didn't want to go out. I didn't feel like going out, whatever. If I had only gone out, then Georgie would be okay. And the parents feeling like, yeah, if only I had, said, no, you can't go out. It's, raining or whatever, all that stuff. This feels like that setup. I just wanted to say that I just thought that was actually really brilliant to kind of pull those things together, because it definitely feels like a trope that Pennywise likes to use.
Oh yeah, Georgie.
And I you know what, I really like it. I really like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk.
Can I ask you a question real quick about Pennywise? With a lot of the classic horror characters, the Jasons, the Freddys, just go down the list. Would you put Pennywise in a top tier as all-time horror characters? Is he up there with the Freddys and and all of that?
Yeah. I actually think that Pennywise is quite a bit more insidious than a lot of the horror characters that we have. And let's face it, a lot of horror characters that we have really rely on I guess I'll call it a trope of stupid teenagers.
Right.
Teenagers that aren't paying attention, teenagers that just miss all the clues, teenagers that, are Scooby-Doo in the gang but never quite get it. Pennywise and the people around Derry, although he definitely has some kind of effect on the adults and probably even the older kids, the kids can see through a lot of what Pennywise does. And that actually makes it more scary, because if what they're seeing is is this complicated, then Pennywise is so incredibly hypnotically powerful that it almost defies explanation. Like, we don't, obviously we know that the creature, it is an alien,
Mm-hmm.
but we really don't have a great explanation. I mean, we have some from the novel about how it does what it does, right?
Mm-hmm.
We understand the deadlights and we've got all of that stuff, but we don't. Stephen King wasn't, for as explicit as he is about things that, come down to what color the Coke was, he didn't really give us a lot of narrative instructions about Pennywise and how his procedure kind of pans out, what it is that he does to make this such fertile ground for him to harvest. And I think that actually makes him really, really, really scary. The fact that we don't have the origin story completely together is actually more scary than not. Does that make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Yeah.
And also, look, anything that can trick you into believing that you see things and then sometimes manifest as that thing, but not other times. That's incredibly scary because it makes you an unreliable narrator in your own experience. You don't know how to explain to other people what's happening because sometimes it's real and sometimes it isn't. Sometimes people really do disappear and their arms get chopped off. And sometimes it's just your imagination. And if you don't believe it, it stops being real.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy, I think. So, yeah, I would definitely put Pennywise as one of the top scary. I wouldn't even call Pennywise a villain, actually. I mean,
I call him a villain. He's not a hero.
Yeah, oh, definitely not a hero. No. But I feel kind of like Pennywise is the like the tenant of uh Predator or Alien. They're hunting and we're assigning them morality, but do they actually have morality? I don't know. I don't know. Not like I think Jason or Freddy have morality. They made choices and they were bad choices.
Jason has morality. He's
Yeah.
he's the patron saint of all kids that were bullied.
That were bullied, right? And well, the same thing with Freddy, right? Freddy's got bad morality, but it's morality nonetheless. Like, he made choices and we got to see those choices. Pennywise, I don't know if there's morality choices in here or if it's just raw hunger that is gnawing at it so much. I don't know, but maybe we'll find out. Maybe we'll actually discover, some darker intentions. Okay, so let's talk about what is happening with the military base. So we know that Major Hanlon, and Captain Paul Russo are showing up at the Air Force Base. They've got some kind of brand new assignment or whatever. And the very first kind of experience that they have is this kind of clear racism. And of course, that was super interesting. But then there might be a piece that's underneath that because we hear about the Cold War, the Soviet Union with the B-52s and things like that. What do you think about that? How did you perceive that whole piece? And how do you think it plays into the Derry experience?
Be honest with you, I have no clue. I was hoping. I have no clue. I was sitting there racking my brain to try to figure out how, which is great though, because normally I can figure it out right away, But is racism his thing that that Pennywise uses to get at him, or fear of that, or
Maybe, but also he's an adult.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that Pennywise doesn't really target adults.
That's true.
So okay, I got to back that up because I really said that wrong. It's not that Pennywise doesn't target adults. It's that he doesn't target adults for the fear factor. He targets adults to be mean, mostly to kids, but I think there's a general pervasive sense of anytime things are hostile and chaotic in Derry, it gives Pennywise, more of an opportunity to feed and the opportunity to, bring kids down to the depths. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I feel like that's got to play some part in this, but also I don't know. I don't understand quite what the tie-in between the B-52 mission and that special projects thing from the Air Force is, unless maybe they know about Pennywise.
Okay.
And that,
Okay.
the US military is always looking to somehow harness the things that they think will be a weapon,
Kind
or
of like The Mist. Remember The Mist?
yeah,
Stephen
yeah,
King as well, where they were messing around with something and opened a portal or something like that.
yep, and it got out of hand.
Right.
And
Wow.
I kind of wonder if that might not be where we are headed with this. I guess time will tell, but
I'm really excited though to see how this plays out. And and Dick Halloran too. I really want to know where that's going.
oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I'd like to redraw our attention to just one quick thing again. And this again, because I feel like this is going to be an extremely meshed theme that continues to kind of wind its way through. There was a scene in the pilot where Charlotte starts to understand that people in Derry are not behaving the way that they should. And it's when there's a bunch of kids and they're beating up another kid. And she steps in and she's like, this isn't good. But nobody in the background, people are passing by and nobody is intervening at all. Like, that's not small town behavior, first of all. But secondly, it's not normal behavior in any sense of the word. You don't just walk by while a group of people are brutalizing a little kid. And I think that idea of bullying is maybe bigger than we even understand. And maybe it ties into Pennywise sort of like, again, priming the pump for the more substantial fear that he can feed off of, right? Does you know what I mean by that?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited about where this season is going to go. I think I'm actually more excited about the idea that Derry is actually sort of in and of itself responsible for what's happening, that Pennywise is so powerful that he can act his reach extends all the way through Derry. And just as a side note, one of the reasons that I think that really does make sense is because when the losers, except for Henry, right, leave, they all forget. They all forget what happened in Derry. Everything has to slowly come back to them because the hypnotic effect that Derry had on them is broken when they leave Derry. And I think that this might make a lot of sense if the military is involved, why we don't see the military as we flash forward, why they're not even involved. Because if they have to leave, they will forget. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just becomes sort of a thing that happened, and then all the rational explanations. Well, I had a rough childhood. Well, this happened, that happened. I don't really remember a lot of it, but yeah, it was just an experience, and this is the way that I am now. I think that's going to have a big part in all of this.
Wow. I didn't even think about that. That was very good.
Well, I thoroughly enjoyed the pilot. I know we didn't talk about a ton of the specifics, although I think we talked about plenty of them.
Yeah.
I would love to explore a bit when the next episode comes out, and the next episode comes out on Halloween. So kind of cool.
Really? Because I
Yeah.
looked it up and it says the second. You sure?
I thought that they said, I thought HBO Max said they were going to release the next chapter on Halloween.
Let me see.
Is that changed?
Let me see. Second. Oh, yep, you're right. Oh, yeah, on Max. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
And that is first of
so
all,
we're talking about tonight at midnight then.
Credit. Yeah. Well, for me, it's so weird. Welcome to Derry doesn't premiere until it gets to Pacific Standard Time, whenever they would get released. So yeah, it'll be later tonight. But interesting, first of all, from a marketing perspective, that's what they did. And secondly, yeah, I think that was actually pretty brilliant. Rather than dropping 3 episodes right at the very forefront, they space them out just a little bit, but give you something spooky very quickly afterwards to kind of sink your teeth into, so to speak. I like it. I like it a lot. So I think I'll sort of end this chapter of the podcast by saying I'm really invested in this. I was really invested in it before. I'm glad that I saw what I saw, but I was really excited about this project from the moment that I heard that it was even being considered. So I was not disappointed, and lots of really solid acting in this, just really excellent performances. I have to say, I'm so glad that Bill Skarsgård came back, because nobody does Pennywise the way that he does. I mean, Tim Curry, all credit where credit is due. That was a phenomenal performance. But there is something about Bill Skarsgård's edition of Pennywise that is super, super scary.
And
so what are your
it's funny too, is it reminds me almost of like the Joker. In a way where for years no one thought that anyone could outdo Jack Nicholson's Joker,
right?
And then Heath Ledger came along, and people were like, well, you know what, I like that one better, and then Joaquin does a great job as well. So and then Tim Curry's Pennywise, everybody was like, like, oh, no one could outdo Tim Curry's Pennywise. And then Skarsgård came, and to be honest with you, he was one of the Skarsgårds I knew the least about before then, so and he's turned out to be a really talented actor going
They
forward.
are an amazing family altogether. They are just Stellan Skarsgård is still acting and still just doing amazing work. So yeah, all of them are just
fantastic actor too, by the way.
Yeah. All right.
I give Daddy the award for the best Skarsgård actor.
Absolutely. Just the body of work that he has behind him is it's insanely great. So
right.
Well, we'll end the podcast today by saying that we've got a lot to explore as the episodes progress. Lots of good things to sort of mull around, and we would love to know what you're thinking about the episodes as well. Let us know what kind of questions you have that you want answered. And yeah, once again, I'm just going to say this was good. This was really, really good. So you cannot find me at this point on social media anymore. My website is down. I am a hot mess of being on and off the internet. But Kinte, how can we find you on social media, and give us a rundown of the things that are coming up for Indie Radio?
Yeah, you can get me at Kinte Ferguson. That's Fergerson on Instagram. And we have a bunch of stuff coming out. We're gonna do some more horror flicks and chill. We're gonna do the Spotlight Music Edition as well.
Nice.
Actually, I'm gonna tell this real quick. We're about to do an interview. I'm sure I know you've seen The Silence of the Lambs, right?
Absolutely.
And the very famous tuck dance scene, right?
Oh yeah.
There's a song playing, and it's called "Goodbye Horses" by a group called Q Lazarus,
Oh
and
nice.
Q Lazarus was fronted by a black woman named Diane Lucky, and even though that song is is iconic with that movie, and Jonathan Demme used her in four different movies, she never could parlay that into success. So in '96, she gave up. She gave up music, and she just raised the family and whatnot. And people tried to find her for years, and they just could not find her because that song became more and more popular. And in 2019, a documentary filmmaker, she was a cab driver, and got into her cab, and she was a big fan of Q Lazarus, and she realized that it was Diane Lucky,
Oh
and
wow.
she got her to allow her to film a documentary about her. And unfortunately, she died 3 years after that. And So she made this documentary about this artist. So my first episode will be an interview with the filmmaker, and so we're just finalizing the actual date where we're going to do the interview. But I'm looking forward to talking about this because they weren't a huge group, but that obviously that scene is very iconic,
Right.
and the story is pretty phenomenal. So that's one of the next things I'm going to be doing. And then we have our programs that we're going to do, and we're going to start doing Alien Earth. I haven't watched Alien Earth yet. I started
Woo,
on the pilot episode.
you are in
So
something.
I was kind of surprised a little bit about the tone. It feels very similar to the original movie in a lot of ways. So I didn't realize that was how the tone was going to be, which I like it. I like it quite a bit. So I don't know about if I like Timothy Oliphant's hair and his eyebrows. It's kind of throwing me off, but I don't know how I feel about that so far. But yeah, so I'm about 30 minutes into the pilot, and then I'm gonna finish it, and then we're gonna record an episode, and then so you've seen them all, so we're gonna
I
go
did see them all.
from the standpoint of someone who hasn't seen it, so there won't be spoilers in it, and then someone who has seen it. So that should be very interesting. So,
It's
but yeah,
I think if you like Pennywise, if you like Welcome to Derry, you will definitely like the Alien series for a lot of the same reasons. One, there's sort of the nostalgia piece that's attached to it, like Kinte said. But two, there is a really strong thematic piece here going forward that really the undertone is what sort of makes you human and how do you react to things when you are human, and this is all part of Pennywise's universe, right? Not Alien isn't, but the Pennywise universe of when you are human you are capable of fear, and I think we're about to discover why that is so important. So yeah, lots of really cool things. I think the Alien Earth piece, if you do like shows like this, you will definitely like it. So
yeah. So with that said, and also we're gonna do a horror flicks and chill on the movie Weapons.
right.
So
Oh, that's
so
gonna be
yeah,
so good.
so I'm gonna rewatch that tonight so that I'll be fresh, even though I've seen it. Uh, and we'll talk about Weapons.
I actually
So
bought that movie because I thought it was so good.
yeah, it's definitely worth buying.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
All
Well,
right.
we will see you next time. And thank you all for joining in with us.
Bye.